Okay, so we're going to go through and talk about a number of things, some DAM specific tasks, and the state of being able to do some of these things. So we'll talk about viewing versions, creating versions, how to move an asset, and how to rename an asset. And we'll also talk about references, how to view references. So it's quite a pile of things to go through. But so we can go through and take a look at, let's take a look at versions first. So versions are located in when you open up the asset. So you want to find an asset, open it up, and then you've got this pane, and we've talked about this pane before. It's got the name and some details about the asset. You can download it here. Should have a title and description, a creator, contributor, and a language. And then on this panel here is where you can go through. You've got renditions noted. Again, we've talked about that. And here's where you're going to find out whether or not it has a version. So on this one, it does not have a version. So I'm in author mode, and I actually cannot create a version on this particular asset. So I'm going to switch over to a place that I can. But before we do that, we're also going to take a quick look at references as well. So here is the References tab. And if this asset was in a web page, it would be referenced right here. And that's one of the ways you can figure out, is this asset currently consumed within a web page, which is an important thing to know. Another way to do it is right here. You can, you've got all these options here, but if you just click on Tools, it also will bring up references. So it'll save you a click not to have to do that. Not to have to open up the asset. And sure enough, here is the reference, and it shows that it has one reference and it's on that page. So we can tell that's where that asset is referenced. Good thing to know. So we're going to come down to My Site in the training server, go to here. We're going to open this up. And if I wanted to create a version of this asset, and there are a number of reasons you might want to do that, these could be tagged differently. So if you had an asset that was going to run within the same page that maybe was being used for a couple of different purposes, or you wanted to pull in some information, you could tag those differently and run a version on them. I do believe currently there is not really much of a business case in the way that AEM is rolled out at Intuit, but that may change. So we're going to show you how this works. So you can see I do have a number of versions here. I can create yet another version if I like, and that's what we're going to do. So down here on the bottom, very tiny little button, you're going to click Create. And you're going to have the version label and a comment that you can put in here. So the label will default to a sequence if you don't put anything in here. So you could just leave that and then add a comment. And that would just give you some sort of information about why this was a particular version that you had. And we're going to click OK. And then we've got the label is 1.4, which it has followed in that sequence. And we can see our comment down here. So if you knew that this asset was tagged for a particular weekend off audience or something like that, that's one of the applications for this. But that is where you go through and you can create your versions here. And then also figure out which one it is. And again, if you've added comments, it's easier to determine what that looks like. And now if you wanted to restore a version, which, is kind of the point of this, you could find the asset, click Restore, and then restore that asset. So that's kind of a quick overview of versioning. Again, it's not something that's used a lot. I don't think there's a particular use case for that at Intuit. But that'll just give you a general idea how that functions and how that works. So we've talked through versioning and how you view references. Another thing I'd want to talk about is moving and renaming assets. So currently there is, and this is, as of say July 2016, there is no way to rename an asset within this tool. So you would have to download the asset, rename it on your desktop, and then bring it back up. Currently, there is no way to do that. The best way to move it would be to make a copy of this asset, navigate by clicking this copy, Navigate to the folder you wanted to put it in, and then click Paste. And there it has shown up. And there we have the asset has moved there. And we can see it's still in a status. It's, it's got to be, the system has to update the location. So that's one way to do it. And then we can come back here if you wanted to, and then you could run a delete asset workflow on this to delete the asset. So that's really the best way to move an asset currently right now. And again, to rename an asset, as it stands right now, you'll have to download that and then download the asset to the desktop, rename it on the desktop, and bring it back up.